Happy Saturday morning, everybody. I'm back today to talk about a new Netflix film from Taiwan called The Abandoned. Right up front, I will say that this is definitely more of a thriller. It's not exactly a horror movie per se, but it is still a pretty damn good movie. I'm really glad I watched this one. It's a serial killer thriller along the lines of Seven or Kiss the Girls or something like that. That kind of thriller that we were getting a lot of in the 90s. For the most part, this doesn't go quite as dark nor fantastic as those movies, and it has a premise that is very firmly grounded in real-world issues, which I'm sure are especially pertinent in highly populated continents like Asia. In fact, director Janine Chang fashions this movie as a character study almost as much as a thriller, which is cool by me because all of that is anchored by lead actress Janine Chang, who is terrific here. She convincingly conveys the withered, frail soul of someone who has suffered severe trauma and severe loss, like shattering tragedy. You can tell just by looking in her eyes that this is someone who has been battered by life recently. But she's nevertheless utterly committed to her job as a police officer, and she has never grown cynical about it at all. Right down to the friendly way she treats the new young partner who's assigned to her in the film, rather than resenting her or condescending her or making things hard on her. She's just open and friendly and supportive. For that matter, the whole precinct that these girls work with in their investigation feels like that, rather than being cops who are incompetent or stubborn. This feels like a professional family who all support each other, actually have each other's backs, and want to do the right thing. They're still human beings with their faults, obviously, but my point is that I just appreciate that they're not cartoonishly dumb or assholish. They're grown-up characters who actually feel like grown-ups. Who knew? Their investigation in this movie involves illegal migrant workers who are being targeted by a serial killer. The who, how, and why behind that I'll leave for you to discover, because it is rather brilliantly constructed and beautifully concealed from us right in front of our eyes. Nor does it ever cheat, which is important. Without spoilers, it also leads to one truly haunting visual moment in the movie that gives us our one moment of true horror. It illustrates the full depth of the killer's depraved lunacy in one shot, and man, it is a knockout. Unfortunately, while director Sang makes good use of visuals and moments like that, and throughout the movie uses match cut techniques to great effect, his juggling of plot elements and plot threads isn't always quite so keen. Particularly in the second act, when things start getting bogged down in backstory for our heroine, along with a couple threads of the plot that are maybe twisted around each other one too many times for their own good. Which means that despite a very strong opening, the movie ends up losing some of its momentum, and then when the serial killer's identity is finally revealed, in its own way it is, as I said, still a very brilliant and convincing twist, but with that momentum gone, or at least stifled, it doesn't quite come across with the punch that it probably should. For that matter, there are even elements of our heroine's backstory that are compelling and emotional and do kind of effectively inform the power of her performance. But, again, it's, one flashback too many, or maybe 3 flashbacks too many. With Chang's performance being as affecting as it is, I just don't think it was necessary, and you probably could have shaved a good 10 or 15 minutes off just by tapering that back a little. And I feel like this is something that I say with a lot of movies, but once again, I'm not quite sure it found the perfect way to end exactly. This movie clearly had the potential to be an emotional sucker punch, and I feel like it kind of pulls back at the last moment. So is the movie perfect? No, but it's also supremely entertaining and engrossing. And at the risk of sounding redundant, Janine Chang's performance is absolutely perfect. I thought she was wonderful in this movie. One of the most human heroines I've seen in a long time. I cared about her as much as I've cared about any character I've seen in a movie over the course of the last year or so. Don't be surprised if there's a US remake of this one. I mean, it just feels like that kind of movie. Just to play master of the obvious for a second, it is on Netflix, so if you've watched everything else, give this a go. If you're in the mood for a thriller with some very, very human characters in it that actually feel like adults, I think that you will find this movie to be a very nice surprise. That's all for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time.